spooky. Hi, my name is Ali. I'm an aspiring author, specifically graphic novelist. And I will say right now, I don't write horror. I mean, at most I've written, wait, there's storming in the background. That is so apt. At most I've written like horror adjacent, like when I was a teenager, this piece of flash fiction that was not great. It was very edgy. It was very heavy-handed, not my best work. Of course, I'm an adult now, and I've written contemporary drama, I've written comedy, including dark comedy, and now I think I want to dive into different genres. So I think it is time to explore writing horror, something I've always been very interested in. We're gonna call it Project Days. If you saw one of my last videos where I'm planning a new speculative novel, you know I'm probably just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks for my next project. Something to note about horror is that it is having a moment right now in traditionally publishing. It's in the market. It's like a trend that may or may not have passed, probably will have passed by the time I have anything to submit in the horror genre. But it is something interesting to note how it's popping up in the market right now. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's talk about the story first. I'm really interested in writing a sort of psychological horror. It's probably my favorite type of horror. It's really near and dear to my heart because I am someone who has suffered from psychosis when I was younger, and when I was diagnosed with disordered paranoia. I've been on antipsychotics since I was 15. I suffered from delusions and hallucinations. I don't want to get too into it because it was a very traumatic experience and I don't even remember a lot of it. I have a lot of hidden memories of that, and I'm mostly fully recovered other than some lingering paranoia, but I do think it would be a really interesting thing to channel for a story project. I thought people were out to get me, wanted to end my life, and it makes me think a lot about unreliable narrators. I want to write a character, a young teenager probably, who has a history of psychosis, of paranoia, delusions, and hallucinations. So maybe she starts to get some hidden messaging implying that someone is out to get her. She feels like she's being hunted, maybe something like that. And the reader doesn't know what to believe because she has this history and all these characters, her family, her doctor, telling her that it's all in her head. And we're seeing it through her view. I have my notes here. But we are left thinking, is she imagining this or is this real? Is there someone truly after her? Are we witnessing her descent into like serious illness? I know it's a sensitive subject matter and there is a history of people commodifying the experiences of mentally ill people to, you know, write these horror stories, the asylum setting especially. So it does feel a bit disrespectful at times, especially as someone who has suffered through that, and I don't want to play too much into it. But I want the character to be a heroine, and personally I see her getting redemption for what she's been through, although that is a bit of a spoiler already, I guess. I don't know a lot about the rest of the plot yet, but seeing as this is a graphic novel, I have a whole other beast I need to tackle, and that is the visuals. In a recent video, I shared that while I'm interested in drawing horror, I don't believe I have the best art style suited for it. My style in the past, especially for comics, has been very wholesome and cartoonish, bright and colorful, sometimes pastel or saturated. I don't have a lot of experience drawing anything dark or disturbing. It really made me doubt if I'm the right person to draw this, if I should team up with an artist or maybe even just hire a colorist, or if I should just scrap the whole thing altogether and accept that this isn't for me. So to test things, I started by drawing a short, scary urban legend comic. That was an interesting experience. Guys, I am so scared right now, and it is so stupid. It's so stupid because it's really not that scary. It's actually a very silly story when you think about it. It's this urban legend, but you know, I heard it when I was so young, and you know, that shit kind of sticks with you and it becomes scary all along. Like, I've always had a thing for like nostalgic stuff, especially if it has to do, like, you guys remember like the creepypastas like Candle Cove, like fucking Squidward suicide. It's so silly to say, but it does scare me. It does scare me. I am a big scaredy cat and was like, I do need to confront that, because if I am so scared and like moving at every little sound while I'm making this fucking silly 9-page horror comic, what would I be like if I'm trying to make like a 300-page one over a set, you know, long amount of time? It's like, would I even be able to, or am I just gonna be like miserable and having nightmares the whole time, you know? So that's also making me think, like, am I cut out for this? it doesn't help right now that I'm like living in an apartment by myself. Sometimes the power goes out, there's always fucking sound everywhere, or it's too eerily quiet. So maybe it's not the best setting, but yeah, I'm fucking scared just drawing this thing, and it's so silly. I'm scared. And I really hope it wouldn't be the same with like a long-term project, because I do want to do this. I do want to like draw a horror novel and write a horror novel. It would suck if I wouldn't be able to, because I'm such a scaredy cat. All right, I will talk to you later. My experience with horror, I grew up reading, like creepypastas. I grew up reading the subreddit r no sleep. I had a big Stephen King phase when I was in my teens. Misery, Carrie, love those books. Gerald's Game is, I always say, this is the scariest book I've ever read. So if you like scary books, go for it. And I'm big fans of movies and TV. Like, I saw the TV Glow was a recent one I really liked. And then I like Us, I like Get Out, I like Parasite, if that counts as horror. And for TV, I'm a bit basic, but I love Haunting of Hill House, of Bly Manor, I like Midnight Mass. So obviously I'm a big fan of Michael Flanagan's work and of Jordan Peele's work. But as far as horror comics go, I am less versed. I do want this to be a graphic novel. That's not like something I will compromise on. I always know with a project, if I want it to be, what I want it to be. If I want it to be a webcomic or a graphic novel or a prose novel. So I know I want it to be a graphic novel, but when I visualize it in my head, it's not my art style that I'm seeing. It's like a different art style. It's less cartoony. And I'm wondering, like, can I emulate it, or should I even try? Should I just embrace my own art style? Because there is something to be said about, like, I don't know, subverting, like putting a cartoonish, almost cute art style with a disturbing topic or something creepy. Beck's comic is a great example of this. She started out making, very colorful, very cutesy, funny comics that I loved, and then she pivoted hard into horror. She does this thing every October, every Halloween, where she makes a bunch of, well, last I checked, I haven't been keeping up with it lately, but she makes a lot of great horror comics. And she didn't even majorly change her style for that. She, mostly went, not colorful, just grayscale, and a lot more gritty, and a lot of hidden details. I think she balances it a lot by not showing eyes in her work, not showing those like big cute eyes she used to show, but it's just like eyeless, and like a lot of the characters you just can't see the eyes. So I wonder if maybe I need to focus not so much on how I draw, but what I draw, what I choose to draw, and what I choose to focus on. Adam Ellis is another comics artist that I like that does horror, and he also transitioned from doing. So there's a little girl screaming, whatever. He transitioned from doing, he was big in BuzzFeed comics, and so he did, his style has changed so much from when he first started. It's practically unrecognizable now, but it's still a little bit cartoony. It's very versatile. I think it's the eyes as well and the shapes that really make his work very disturbing and make it work so well. I think it's good for me to analyze different comics, not just movies and TVs, but the actual medium of comics before getting into this, and I will probably do a lot of that, but I'm still, I'm scared. I'm a scaredy cat, and I don't know if I can pull it off either, but it is something to analyze. But before I get too much into the art, we need to have the story. We need to have the writing, so that's what I need to tackle first. Okay, I got a bit cold, so we're doing an outfit change here. And I'm getting my laptop because we gotta write this. So the graphic novel format that I implement is basically like writing a screenplay. What I'm really interested in for this project is the use of like negative space and the pacing. I can introduce that as more eerie and disturbing. I think there's a lot of room in comics for that. In horror, like in horror movies and TV shows, jump scares are like a controversial technique. but I do wonder how I can sort of represent that in a graphic novel, you know, like where you have these like long, eerie, slow panels, and then you turn the page and it's just something disturbing, you know, like color or negative space when then there was more negative space than there was in the previous pages, if that makes sense. Or like there can be color if like the rest of it doesn't have color. There can be like dramatically more or dramatically less color. And you know, the pacing can pick up when someone is being chased or attacked. Like comics are a really interesting format to play with in general. And I feel like just in horror there's so much more to explore in it. I'm really excited to write it. The first step for me when writing a graphic novel is outlining, figuring out the synopsis. I have some notes I wrote forever ago in the middle of the night and I scared myself. And that is sort of the beginning of this project. And I usually do this and then let the ideas fester and sort of work in the back of my mind for days or weeks or months or even years before I'm ready to develop it more. So let's see if I can turn this into an outline as detailed or as bare as I can manage. We'll see. Pulling it into a document and we'll call it Project Days Synopsis for now. Is it synopsis or synopsis? I don't know how to pronounce anything. That's where we're going far. Let's fucking do this. Okay, so I've managed to write a beginning to end with a good amount of details for the synopsis. I think I took a lot from, like, I didn't remember because it was so long ago, how much I wrote, like, in the middle of the night of, like, this is what the horror novel idea I want to do. So I had a lot to start out with, and it was just missing a lot of details, and it's still missing a lot of details. It's not a full outline yet, but I figured out a lot of what I was missing, because there were just like, okay, but what exactly is going on in Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3, how is it ending? And with that ending is like, we have this villain, right, and I think they need a good motive, so I was sort of working through that. I was like, it could be this, it could be this. I do kind of hate when antagonists, when villains are like, they have like a cheap motive or something, you know, or it's just like, it doesn't really make sense, or it's just like, nothing is like foreshadowed and then something just comes up at the end and it's crazy, even though like that was one of the critiques I got for an R&R, but that's out of the question. Whatever. But yeah, I don't want to make the same mistake again, and especially with this, it's supposed to be very I mean, not actiony, but very like a lot is going on, so I want a lot of foreshadowing for what's going on. I think this is a young adult novel, but the character won't be like she'll be like a teenager, but she's out of high school and then she's sort of lost right now. It was just part of her, like her poor mental health and everything. Definitely a lot of psychological shit going on here that I really like, that I like thought, ooh, this would be good. I wonder, you know, with trigger warnings for books, I know people feel differently about those, but I'm kind of thinking, don't hate me guys, but I kind of wrote in like, maybe we could do something and it involves animal death, animal cruelty. And it's not just for the shock factor, it works for the plot, it has a purpose, but I know that would immediately turn a lot of people off. Like, I could already see if this is published and somebody came across, you know, like, oh, not the animal death, and he'd immediately go to Goodreads and be like, 0 stars, like, can't believe you wrote that animal death, you know? I don't know, it's very sensitive, and I know a lot of people just do it for shock factor, this type of thing, but it's really not. You know, I have to consider that. I don't want to like take it away just because of like, oh, people would be too disturbed by it, but it's like if it has a purpose. But yeah, one thing I've been thinking about a lot is like, that is really intriguing, particularly like with this subject matter that is so close to my psyche, is like how writing can help you process your trauma creatively and with the emotions that like horror evokes, like channeling that fear inside you, but also like writing it from beginning to end, like how a person can survive something very terrifying and unsettling. Like, I don't know, I feel like it could be very fulfilling for me, like maybe help me heal. But what I'm scared of is it might unlock some memories that I've blocked. Like, I don't know if I want to unlock, but I also think it might be worth it. And there's, you know, other things as well. I've noticed a lot in my work, all my stories, and like, there's no siblings ever, and I grew up with a lot of siblings, and it wasn't a great relationship, and now I don't speak to most of them. That's a whole, I'm not gonna get into it, but it sort of correlates, I think, because I didn't even notice it recently. There's like no siblings at my work. There's always like only children, whatever. Only fans. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Good God, what is wrong with me? Anyways, but I am thinking of writing, I'm not thinking of, like, it's a very important plot line, important part of the plot here that this main character has a sister. And so I'm kind of digging for like, I'm kind of like basing it off like very loosely off my own experiences, but not with like a villainous way, of a like a very empathizing way. So it's not, she's not an antagonist or anything. But I feel like I could heal from writing that relationship as well. Or, you know, maybe it'll go the other way and it'll be too sad. I don't know, but I'm working with a lot of stuff here. And yeah, I feel like this would be very interesting to write emotionally. But I like, just even from a writer's perspective, from a storyteller's perspective, I like where I'm going with this. I think this has legs. I think this has a lot of potential. I think I could do this. I think it is for me. If not the art, definitely the writing. And you know, we'll figure out the art along the way. You know, I think this has legs. But we'll see what we're gonna do with it. We'll see what we're gonna do with it. Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm gonna bring this video to an end. I think I reached the conclusions I wanted to. I made the progress I wanted to. But please do not expect pure horror content from me in the future. I don't know if this is your first video, but I'm doing these spooky season themed ones for October, and I have one more coming up that is still spooky themed, but very more of my whimsical and colorful art. It's doing a redraw. It's gonna be fun. I'm an author illustrator interested in many genres. I now have one manuscript that I'm working on finishing. I was gonna say before the end of the year, but hopefully within the next couple months, so that I can get editing it as well, getting feedback from other people. And that's non-horror, of course, although it does have like sort of like scary elements, but it's like middle grade, so it's like very low-key scary. And it's mostly just at the end, but whatever. And I gotta make a sample art for that after that, and you know, I have different projects. I gotta choose what to prioritize. Let me know if this horror concept interests you at all. That may help sway me. I know I didn't like reveal a lot about it, but you know, my aim is always to publish, so that may help sway me. But yeah, to close off, I think the best advice I can give you is don't look behind you. Sorry, I don't even know if that was scary or that was just lame, but I kind of hope it scared you. Thanks for watching. Happy Halloween. Please leave a like if you want to make me smile, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.